In my last video, I tested out the lowest rated tower defense games on Steam, and in the process I actually found this one called Medieval Defenders, which turned out to be pretty fun, but at the same time, the reason it had such low ratings is because, well, it's a pay-to-win tower defense game. Now at the time, the people who originally rated it actually got the game for free, but I paid $15 for it and still encountered this pay-to-win system where if you run out of tries, you're expected to either wait 30 minutes or literally pay to continue, which obviously I'm not going to do, and instead I'm going to find out just how far I can get in this game without paying at all. Because during that video, I was able to play for 1 hour without ever running out of tries at all. I actually beat a decent amount of levels and even got 4 achievements in the process, so yeah, I guess let's see what we can do here. Now, we're going to be starting off on level 12 here, but honestly, I'm probably going to try to go back and get 3 stars on every single level. However, in the meantime, I'm actually getting introduced to a new unit, as they call it, but really it's a power, it's the log that can block things for you. However, I also have to fight a new enemy, which actually are also called units for some reason. The game is kind of funny like that, but honestly, I totally goofed on my first try on this level because I've played this level before. It's literally a split map where you can see there's 2 different sides for the enemies to come from, and I put the cannon ships on the wrong side. So because of that, I didn't lose on the first wave, but I didn't earn any gold from destroying the enemies either. And this left me very much lacking resources in the coming rounds, so I did end up losing on my first try. And you can see this leaves me with only 4 attempts left, but I'm not too worried considering that the 30-minute timer already started. And beyond that, of course, now that I'm actually going to be more competent with my play, I should have a better chance of surviving here. And honestly, in my experience at least, the cannon has been the best tower overall so far because it is the cheapest one. It does a pretty good damage per second, and then at the level 3 upgrade, it actually has this super powerful cannon that can literally stun enemies in place. It has a ton of range and damage per shot as well, and ultimately it makes this tower something that's really good in the early and late game as well. And whenever you beat a level, you actually earn some elixir that can be spent to do different things like either upgrading the base stats of your towers, or it can also be used for things like your spells and actually common stuff as well, which I'll show you guys later, but I haven't really invested much into that stuff yet. However, I have put most of my points into the cannon, of course, and then also the catapult as well, because that's another tower I've really been using, although that definitely would not end up being the case on this next level, where I actually unlocked another 3rd level cannon for myself, which is pretty cool. It also says it slows down enemies, although I'm guessing this one's supposed to have a longer slow because it's blue, so it makes me think of like freezing or something. But the other level 3 cannon also can stun enemies with its green blast, like I was saying before, so I definitely wanted to test out this new upgrade I unlocked, and of course, right when I bought it, I happened to be facing units that were immune to that, so yeah, I didn't really get to see it there. And afterwards, I honestly couldn't really even tell a difference with it anyway, so the fact that both upgrades are the same price and this one has certain units that are immune to it just kind of makes me think that the green cannon is definitely the way to go. But yeah, I was able to beat the level with no problems while only buying cannons on every single spot. And considering that the next level actually uses the exact same map layout, my plan was to do the same thing here, but the game did introduce me to a new upgrade for my crossbow, which I guess I should eventually test out. However, I also unlocked a new unit I get to fight, which is actually the Knight, and it's by far the strongest thing I've had to face so far, which meant that despite how slowly it moves, even with 2 cannons down on the path, I just barely defeated it while also using spells in the process. And considering that was the long path on this map, you can imagine how wave 2 went with 2 knights coming down the shorter path. Despite the fact that I had a ton of coins to actually buy a decent amount of defense, I still ended up having both the knights get past them. And these are the first units I've seen that actually take 3 lives instead of just 1, which definitely matters a lot considering that we only start with 25. And I was a little bit worried with such a rocky start. However, the cannon once again proved its value by really helping us push forward. And then I accidentally bought the wrong 3rd upgrade for this cannon, you know, the one with the blue blast, which the knights are of course immune to, as the game made a key point of mentioning this characteristic in their description. But the funny thing about this is that the description said they are immune to stunning in general. However, the green blast cannons can actually still stun them in place, so I guess that's another win for Team Green here. But also, it definitely makes me wonder what the game considers to be stunning and not stunning, and kind of how overall like the properties of every tower works in this game. It also kind of gets me thinking though, if we can get this far with just spamming down cannons, is that all this video is going to end up being? Well, maybe not, because the next level actually introduced me to this super powerful looking spell that can apparently boost every single tower you have down on the map, at least for a short time. I'm guessing that the cooldown is going to be insanely long on this though to kind of balance that out. But what I also found is that it's definitely not going to be as simple as spamming down a couple cannons on your start, because here I found that with them not being in the best spots, I wasn't able to do enough damage to the first knight here on wave 1, which allowed it to get through, and that in of itself didn't matter much. However, without any coins from wave 2, I quickly ran out of resources and was decisively defeated by wave 3. And in order to actually beat this level on my second try, I had to be a lot smarter about how I use my spells, which definitely dispels, haha, the false idea I just had that spamming down cannons would get me through this entire game. But also I found a really unique issue where by wave 7 I actually was kind of running out of things to spend money on, because the cannon is the cheapest tower in the game, and you can see the knights were really making a ton of progress despite me having all level 3 cannons to fight them. And what I ended up doing is actually selling one of the cannons to get a catapult here on the castle, and it started attacking the wrong tower, because obviously I wanted to attack the group that was together and not this single unit. But we did actually managed to survive here with just 1 life remaining. However, this made me very much aware of the fact that if I want any chance of beating this game, I'm gonna really have to be on my toes and start playing a lot smarter than I have been. But at least I only have 5 levels left in this campaign, and I have earned almost enough stars to unlock the next one as well. But with that in mind, I actually unlocked a new upgrade for a tower I haven't been using at all. It's the gold mine in the game. The reason I haven't really used it is just because I haven't found that I've ever been running out of gold specifically, but you can see it's there if you're interested. Beyond that, I'm also going to have to fight my first airborne unit, which I'm definitely a lot more curious about, especially because I need to know, will the cannon tower actually be capable of attacking these guys since they are in the air? Well, of course it is, and in fact, it's actually the only tower that can attack them, so yeah, that's why the cannon is my goat right there. But one thing I forgot to mention up to this point is arguably the most annoying enemy in the game, which is this little guy right here that'll actually disable towers that it's passing nearby, and beyond that, it also opens up a portal every few seconds that spawns in a different enemy. So essentially what ended up happening is, because I only had lower tier cannons without much range, I just kind of had to watch as this guy went by and disabled each cannon, and then slowly spawned in enough units to take me out on wave 3 here. So yeah, you can probably guess why I don't like this enemy very much. And before trying the level again, I went over to the comment section of my elixir shop and got this upgrade that I'm pretty sure should give me 10% more gold from every enemy I defeat, which I definitely should have gotten before instead of getting the 10% extra starting gold. Considering you can see on this level I'm starting with 99 gold instead of 90, which is basically no difference at all, but 10% extra gold from all the enemies could easily amount to hundreds if not like 1,000 gold throughout some levels. And beyond that, I didn't realize that I hadn't even been using this free boosted space that this particular map gives you either, which you can see is making the cannon's range way bigger than it normally would be. So with those two things combined, I was much better prepared by wave 3 this time to deal with those annoying enemies, and ultimately got through the whole level as well. And I used the elixir that I earned from beating it to buy another upgrade to how much I earned from enemy trophies, now a total of 20% extra. And if you're wondering what these towers are, they're just the 3rd tier upgrades for the gold mine. I guess they forgot to translate the names, but the reason that they have those separate is because at the 3rd level, the gold mine actually becomes more like a village where it can buff other towers and stuff, as opposed to just generating income. It's actually kind of interesting to think how like the village and farm from Bloons tower defense are sort of like one tower in this game, and makes kind of sense actually when you really get down to it. But getting through the next level was no problem for me. The game introduced me to something called the heavy knight, and actually started me off with a couple crossbows instead of giving me gold to choose which towers I bought. But with the use of some spells, we just barely took out the heavy knight in time, and then of course I just started buying cannons like you'd expect. But beyond that, since I did have the crossbows down, I figured this would be a good time to actually try out that 3rd tier upgrade like I said I would earlier, and well, it's honestly garbage, so I guess I was making the right choice before. And you want to take a guess what I did with all this extra elixir right here? Yoink! And in fact, it's actually pretty good that I decided to buy that upgrade, because I actually had a really terrible start on this next level, because I was like thinking, what exactly am I supposed to do here? I only have crossbows down with basically no gold, and I'm fighting an enemy that cannot be shot by it. Then I realized I can simply sell towers and obviously use that money to get cannons, which meant that I had a really terrible start where I basically earned no gold from the enemies on the first couple of stages. But because of the fact that I'm now earning 30% extra gold from each enemy that I defeat, I was still able to end up surviving here, which definitely was the first time that's happened so far. And coming into the next level, the game introduced us to yet another new enemy, with this being the 2nd airborne unit, and of course unlike the dragon, it's very heavy and slow, but also much stronger as well. but I really found it to be extremely easy to defeat, honestly. And the other thing that's really notable at this point is I've begun using the 3rd tier catapult a lot that I recently unlocked, which makes the range of the tower way smaller, but in exchange, it makes the tower extremely powerful, and I found that they do a really good job of thinning the herd for our cannons, and honestly these two towers work very well together, which did a great job of getting me through this level. And with that, I had officially cleared the entire campaign, so I figured I'd actually go back to the 2nd level and try to earn 3 stars on it now, although I was very disappointed to realize that you're actually still limited in the same way that you normally are, meaning I couldn't go back to these early levels and be super overpowered with all the towers I had unlocked. However, I was still able to earn 3 stars here, and for some reason the game gave me an absolutely ridiculous 105 elixir for doing this, so I'm really hoping that might happen if I go back and 3-star some of these other old levels as well, because if this video gets at least 10 likes, I'm gonna go and try to beat the entire 2nd campaign of the game, and this is gonna be a real challenge because that's where the game actually gets substantially more difficult. You can see here, even on the 1st level, I was not having the easiest time, so we're gonna figure out exactly what to spend that elixir on, try to get every achievement in the game as well, and basically do everything there is. Now, if you're still here, you might as well go and check out the video where I actually found this game in the first place, which of course is on your screen right now.